Network show. It is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. We're live. So it's been a hectic day today. And then if you follow my personal Facebook page, you'll know that historian and scholar and a friend of mine, Renoko Rashidi, passed away today. He was in Egypt on a tour, giving a tour in Egypt, and he passed away today from a heart attack. So a lot of people are posting about it on social media. Someone, a Facebook friend of mine, sent me the information from the Travel with Renoko Facebook group. And I made some calls. I talked to Professor James Small today and Professor Kabahaya Kamene, and talked to Dr. Ray Winbush and Director Taiki Grant, who directed the Hapi documentary. And yeah, they confirmed all of it. So it's a big loss. He's a brilliant scholar, historian. I've interviewed him a number of times. So it'll definitely be missed. So as more information comes out, we'll update you on that also. All right. So Simone Biles plans to compete in the Olympic balance beam final. So we got the news late last night. I got it. It was like 11:45 p.m. or something like that. I started getting news alerts about Simone Biles competing, and this will be the last competition she'll be able to compete in. So we'll discuss that. Then the protest, the Texas House Democrats, the 51 Texas House Democrats are still pushing for the People Act. And there was a protest event today. More than 100 state legislators were slated to join Texas House Democrats in Washington, D.C. today as lawmakers push for federal voting reform. The lawmakers from nearly 30 states participated in a week of action to demand President Joe Biden and the U.S. Senate, quote, do whatever it takes to immediately pass the For the People Act, the sweeping voting right legislation championed by Democrats that was blocked by Senate Republicans. So we'll talk about that some. And also Reverend William Barber III, Reverend William Barber II, and Reverend Jesse Jackson were among others who were arrested today at the protests in Washington, D.C. The Poor People's Campaign protests. You know, they just concluded the March for Democracy, the 27-mile March for Democracy in Texas, in Texas. That concluded on Saturday. So we'll let you know what's going on here with the protests in Washington, D.C. also. And Reverend William Barber and Reverend Jesse Jackson were arrested. So they're continuing the pressure on the Biden administration, on the U.S. Senate. And, you know, we talked about this Sunday, and then also on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we discussed this as well. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. So it's going to take continuous pressure, and from all across the country in all different sectors as well. This just can't be left up to African Americans. All right, so we'll discuss those topics on today's show. All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, entrepreneurship, economic empowerment, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. My new 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. You can register for that class at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for that 10-week online course. We had a good class on this past Saturday. All right. I want to jump into this first story here, dealing with Simone Biles. So it was announced by USA Gymnastics late Friday night Eastern Standard Time. It's about 11:45 p.m., something like that, Eastern Standard Time, when I got the news. And we posted an article from the USA Today on a Facebook fan page, the African History Network, about this also. Simone Biles plans to compete in Olympics balance beam final. USA Gymnastics tweeted, "We are so excited to confirm that you will see 2 U.S. athletes in the balance beam final tomorrow." So it's going to take place on Tuesday. Sunny Lee and Simone Biles. It's going to take place on Tuesday. Gymnastics legend Simone Biles plans to compete in the balance beam final Tuesday. It was confirmed by USA Gymnastics after she withdrew from several competitions to focus on her mental health. After she withdrew from several competitions to focus on her mental health. Now, the balance beam competition is scheduled to begin at 5:50 p.m. on Tuesday, which is 4:50 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, in Tokyo. Okay, Biles, widely considered the world's best gymnast, shocked the world last week by suddenly withdrawing during the team gymnastics final. The 24-year-old said the emotional toll of the Tokyo Games, not a physical injury, prompted her to withdraw. So she's been focusing on her mental health. She told NBC Today show co-host Hoda, she told her, "Physically, I feel good. I'm in shape. Emotionally, it varies on the time and moment. Coming to the Olympics and being head star isn't an easy feat. Coming to the Olympics and being head star is not an easy feat." Now, since then, Simone Biles did not compete in events including the individual all-around and uneven bar finals. Okay. Her return will be celebrated by fans the world over, as her withdrawal has been one of the biggest stories from this Olympic Games. I'm going to go to clip one, Shakita. We want to go to that clip here from the Today Show right quick before the break. Let's go to clip one.
Then, four-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles will officially try and make it 5. USA Gymnastics confirming the superstar will compete in the upcoming balance beam final along with teammate Suni Lee, tweeting in part, "Can't wait to watch you both." The beam will be Biles' first event since withdrawing from last week's team all-around final, as well as multiple individual finals, to focus on her mental health. The star recently posting these since-deleted clips to Instagram, showing her struggling during uneven bars training, along with messages including one reading, "I didn't quit. My mind and body are simply not in sync."
Disney's Jungle Cruise is classic.
Okay. So everybody's looking forward to Simone Biles returning, and we hope she is successful on the balance beam. Now, the Tokyo Games were meant to be a showcase for Simone Biles, a 4-time gold medalist who has wowed the gymnastics world with her talent. Instead, it has thrust her into the conversation around mental health in sports. Simone Biles wrote on Friday on Instagram, "For anyone saying I quit, I didn't quit. My mind and body are simply not in sync, as you can see here." So she had posted a video of her on the uneven bars, but then deleted the video, and she was struggling and her balance was off, and when she dismounted, she landed on her back. She said, "I don't think you realize how dangerous this is on hard competition surface, nor do I have to explain why I put health first. Physical health is mental health. Physical health is mental health." Now, Simone Biles added that she was still suffering with the twisties and literally cannot tell up from down. Okay, so that was on Friday. That was Friday. That was Friday, July 30th, that she posted that. All right. Okay, we're coming up here on the break. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 4 minutes. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. All right, stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Okay, you have E. Cole and John Ray, T.C. Cook. Stand by. E. Cole, John Ray. Back from break in 2 minutes. All right. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, August 2nd, 2021, and we are live. All right. Beginning of the show, I talked briefly about the passing of Runoko Rashidi, historian and world traveler. Um, we'll talk some more about it tomorrow. I posted about it on my personal Facebook page, and I have to post about it on my fan page also, the African History Network. But he was in Egypt, giving a tour in Egypt, and passed away today, August 2nd. He had a heart attack. So you'll hear more about it. You'll hear more updates about it. Okay. Yeah, I talked to Runoko a few months ago. He was working on a project or something, and we were talking about setting up an interview, but we're both busy, and he's in and out. He's always traveling. But we've had him here on the show a number of times. So that's a big loss. Reverend William Barber III, Reverend William Barber II. We talked about this yesterday. So then you had the 4-day march. He and Beto O'Rourke were leading the 4-day march. And this was in Texas, okay? This was Georgetown, Texas to Austin, Texas. And this is to get the For the People Act passed, as well as for to raise the minimum wage as well to at least $15 an hour. So there was a 4-day 27-mile march. Okay, we talked about that here. Then today there was a protest march in Washington, D.C. Okay, Reverend Barber and Jesse Jackson arrested at D.C. Protests for voting rights and higher wages. Roland Martin Unfiltered was there in D.C., and he was reporting on it and broadcasting and showed some footage on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Today on the readout, Reverend William Barber was interviewed on the readout, Joanne Reed's show. Joanne Reed's show. Jonathan Capehart was sitting there for Joy. Joy's on vacation. I think she's still on vacation. So I want to go to this article here from this is from the News and Observer. They have a piece on this. Reverend Barber, hundreds of others arrested at DC protests for voting rights, higher wages. If we look at this here, so this is intensifying the pressure, okay, to get the For the People Act passed. This is from August 2nd. Here's Reverend William Barber being arrested. You see Reverend Jesse Jackson behind him also. Reverend Jackson was arrested today as well. The Reverend William J. Barber II was arrested with others on Monday while demanding federal action to preserve voting rights and raise the federal minimum wage. The Reverend Jesse Jackson was also arrested along with Reverend Liz Theo Harris. Reverend Liz Theo Harris. Reverend Theo Harris is the co-founder with Reverend William J. Barber of the National Poor People's Campaign, which led the protest Monday as part of a season of nonviolent moral direct action. A season of nonviolent moral direct action. It launched in July 2021. Now, the Poor People's Campaign, which has committees in states across the nation, wants Congress to restore the full Voting Rights Act, because we know it was weakened by Shelby County versus Holder, U.S. Supreme Court case of 2013. Okay, we know that weakened it because it gutted the oversight, and the oversight deals with states and counties that had a history of putting obstacles in the way of especially African Americans voting, but putting obstacles in the way of people voting. If they wanted to make any changes to polling locations, hours that polls are open, anything like that, they want to make any changes, they had to get clearance from a federal judge. Okay, that's the pre-clearance, and that cut down on a lot of voter suppression. Okay, but when Shelby County versus Holder was struck down, when Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was struck down by Shelby County versus Holder, that opened everything up for a lot more voter suppression. Within 24 hours, when you go research that case, within 24 hours, states started passing new voter ID laws and voter suppression tactics. Now, the Poor People's Campaign, which has committees in states across the nation, wants Congress to restore the full Voting Rights Act passed in 1965, but weakened by a 2013 ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court called Shelby County versus Holder. The Poor People's Campaign is also calling for passage of the For the People Act, which would make it easier to vote in federal elections, end congressional gerrymandering, and overhaul federal campaign finance laws. An end to the federal filibuster. Okay, an end to the federal filibuster, which can be used by the minority party in the Senate to prevent passage of laws favored by the majority. They also want to increase the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, and fair treatment of immigrants, and an extension of the moratorium on evictions. Now, thousands of people from 47 states, including faith leaders from 37 denominations and low-wage workers, many of them considered essential workers during the pandemic, attended Monday's protests, Reverend William Barber said, and hundreds were arrested. Okay, hundreds were arrested. Now, a spokesperson for Capitol Police on Monday afternoon said, quote, "It's too early to give an estimate to how many people could be facing arrest here on Capitol Hill, and that more information would be released later." Okay, more information would be released later. And let me pull this up here. All right. Now, the calling number is 313-778-7600 is the calling number. If you have a question or comment, 313 778-7600 is the call-in number. Okay. All right, let's flip back over to this here. The restream is acting up. All right, stand by. Okay, so Reverend William Barber, 57 years old, charged along with others, was charged along with others for obstructing traffic during a protest. He was charged with obstructing traffic during the protest in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is they're talking back in June. Okay, he was charged back in June of 2021, along with others, with obstructing traffic during a protest. On July 26, Reverend William Barber and Reverend Jesse Jackson and others were arrested during a sit-in outside of Senator Kristen Sinema's office in Phoenix, Arizona, in protest of Sinema's refusal to vote to end the filibuster. Now, on Monday afternoon, Reverend Barber retweeted a post from Repairers of the Breach, of which he is president, that said Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Theo Harris, and he have all been arrested, fighting for the soul of our democracy, Now, Reverend Barber also tweeted, quote, "We're out here in Washington, D.C. today to call on Senator Joe Manchin, Senator Sinema, and others to say, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Get on the justice side, get on the freedom side, get on the side of voting rights and economic justice. This is your moment." Okay, so that fight continues. And so this is from the newsandobserver.com. So check out this article. Reverend Barber, hundreds of others arrested at D.C. protests for voting rights, higher wages, including Reverend Jesse Jackson was arrested today as well. Now, you also had about 100 Democratic state legislators joining the Texas House Democrats in Washington, D.C., protesting as well. That took place today also. And thehill.com has an article on this. I'm going to try to pull this up from the Hill. More than 100 state legislators joining Texas Democrats to push voting bills in D.C. Okay, we're going to pull this up from thehill.com. So the lawmakers from nearly 30 states will participate in a week of action, to demand President Joe Biden and the Senate do whatever it takes to immediately pass the For the People Act. If we look at this piece here, okay. Let me flip over to this one here from the Hill. All right, so the state lawmakers are calling for the Senate to stay in session until the For the People Act is passed. And let's see, Arizona State Representative Jennifer Longdon, Democrat, said in a statement, the freedom to vote is under unprecedented attack by extremists. The freedom to vote is under unprecedented attack by extremists. Lawmakers in states across the country, including in Arizona, Arizona State Representative Jennifer Longdon said in a statement. She said every Democrat in the U.S. should feel urgency to pass legislation protecting the right to vote. We're here to demand the Senate deliver the For the People Act. We're here to demand that the Senate deliver the For the People Act, even if that means delaying recess. Recess can wait, but our democracy can't, because the Senate, I think they go on recess next week, August recess. But Chuck Schumer said he may suspend that recess if the work is not done. We know that you had a breakthrough on the infrastructure bill yesterday, and they are pushing the $1 trillion infrastructure bill through the Senate. Now, the push for voting right legislation on Capitol Hill comes as a number of Republican-dominated state legislatures have passed restrictive election bills in recent months. The Brennan Center for Justice reported that last month that between January 1st and July 14th, at least 18 states enacted 30 new laws that restrict access to voting. At least 18 states enacted 30 new laws that restrict access to voting. The issue gained renewed attention in June when a group of Texas House Democrats fled to D.C. in an effort to deny state Republicans the quorum, the majority, the quorum needed to convene a special session where a broad measure to overhaul elections procedures was on tap. The Texas Democrats are expected to remain in D.C. until August 7th, when the special session in the Texas House of Representatives, when that special session ends. Okay, read this article here from thehill.com. More than 100 state legislators joining Texas Democrats to push voting bills in D.C. And I've said before, they need to have Democrats from state legislators all across the country showing up in D.C. to protest, to back them up. And I'm still waiting on the feminist groups and the Me Too protesters and the Me Too women who were protesting a few weeks ago when Bill Cosby was set free. I'm still waiting on the LGBTQ community to come out in force. I'm still waiting on the women's reproductive rights activists to come out. You remember when Trump was sworn in? It was 2017, January 20th, 2017. And then the next day, there was huge, massive protests across the country. The women's, you had the women's march and all that. And I'm waiting on all those women that were involved in the women's march. And it was like 1 million of them protesting across the country on one day. So where are all those people? Because this is not just a 15th Amendment issue. The 15th Amendment of 1870 guaranteed the right to vote for African-American men. This is not just a 15th Amendment issue. This is also a 19th Amendment issue. The 19th Amendment of 1920 guaranteed the right to vote to white women, basically largely white women. Okay. And then after the Voting Rights Act of 65, then a lot of African-American women more so could vote, at least in the South. Up north, they could already vote, but in the South, a lot of us were still in the South. So it's a 19th Amendment issue also, but it's not just a 19th Amendment issue. It's also a 26th Amendment issue. the 26th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution lowered the minimum voting age from 21 to 18. And that was in 1971 under Richard Nixon. So this is a constitutional issue. This is a 15th Amendment issue. This is a 19th Amendment issue. And it's a 26th Amendment issue. So all these groups that are affected by this, I'm waiting on them to show up. All right. So this is why I said in the Poor People's Campaign is doing this, but they are expanding the conversation beyond just African Americans. This just can't be a black thing. Okay. This cannot just be a black thing. If it's just deemed a black thing, we're going to lose. That's all it is to that. If it's just deemed a black thing, we're going to lose. All right, Shakita, I'm going to send you this clip here. This is Reverend William Barber on the readout with Joanne Reed, because they just uploaded it. I was looking for it earlier and it wasn't up. So I'm going to send this to you here in just a second. Just cue that up. So there was a story out of Providence, Rhode Island. And the governor of Rhode Island, Governor Dan McKee, has signed a bill into law that signed a bill in the law dealing with the public school curriculum, incorporating Black history and heritage into the curriculum. This is the teaching of Black heritage and history. Keith Stokes is the vice president of the Black Heritage Society and one of the leading lights behind the effort. And he said it took 400 years to get here. It took 400 years to get here. We'll talk about this briefly. We'll probably talk about this story tomorrow also. Let's see here. Okay, stand by. Let me send this clip to you, Shakita. Now, let me see here. Computer's running slowly, so just bear with me. The new curriculum will cover the African diaspora to Rhode Island. The African diaspora to Rhode Island, which began with the first slave ship in 1696. Okay, going to Rhode Island, the first slave ship in 1696. And later drew individuals of African descent from the Caribbean as well as Central South America. Now, the curriculum developed in conjunction with the Rhode Island Black Heritage Society, Rhode Island College, and Rhode Island Historical Society, which also include an African Heritage Road Trip and a website where students can access hundreds of historical documents and photographs. And it's a virtual trip back in time. A virtual trip back in time. All right, stand by. Hold on. This is freezing up on me. All right. So State Representative Anastasia Williams, a Democrat from Providence, Rhode Island, who has championed the inclusion of Black history since 2014, said, "Do you know we had a Black representative in 1885? Do you know we had a Black representative